Hello, I'm Helen Veal. I'm chairing today's Popular Factual session, an opportunity for you to meet the commissioners and find out a little bit more about what's working for them and what they're looking for. Let me introduce everybody. This is Siobhan Malholland from Sky, this is Erin Willis from the BBC, Dominic Walker from Channel 4 and Katie Thorogood from ITV. To kick things off, as a producer myself, I'm always worried about whether anyone's actually in the mood for buying anything. So I'd like to find out, how do you feel about this year, commissioning opportunities? What's the mood at Sky this year as opposed to last year?
I think the only way is up with Sky at the moment. There's more money coming through for commissioning, possibility of more outlets for those programmes, and Stuart Murphy's been in the job over a year and he's achieved a lot in the sense of what Sky One is now. It's very much strong flavoured, strong personalities, funny, factual, and it's building on that, and it's incredibly positive actually at Sky now.
Dom, how about Channel 4?
Well, obviously it's been a year of some change for us, but with Big Brother gone, we've got obviously all of us are probably mostly fill up to 2011, but we're commissioning as usual. Jay's starting in the new year, but there's commissioning forms going through all the time, and it's sort of business as usual, which it has to be, because otherwise we're going to not have enough programmes next year. So all the departments, but our department in particular, features and factual entertainment, have got a hell of a lot of commissioning still to do. So yeah, business as usual.
Katie?
I think ITV is in confident, buoyant mood, and we have got lots of slots in 2011 at 9 o'clock, so real opportunities there.
And Emma?
Well, we live in a state of perpetual change at the BBC, so I think we're quite chipper in Docs, actually. You know, we've had a lot of success on BBC One, which is quite a hard nut to crack. There's all kinds of things we're doing on 2. I think we feel good, really, you know.
Excellent. The absence of either doom or gloom means that we could potentially get some useful steers out of this session. Before we get stuck in, and I invite everybody to show us a show reel and give us an indication of their commissioning wants over the coming year, in the spirit of the popularity of the Pop Factual session, we've got a small game as an icebreaker, and hopefully underneath that, a way of perhaps finding a little bit more about the nuances and differences tonally between the channels who we have on the panel. One of the things I think all of us noticing in popular programmes, that the role of talent presenters at the heart of a lot of popular factual programmes. So we're going to play a small game of celebrity doc, I suppose, that's as far as it needs to go. So I have a PowerPoint presentation with some photographs of celebrities who potentially might be interested in presenting shows on various topics. And I'm going to ask, once we've had a look at them all, I'm going to ask everybody to have a think, which of these couplings might you consider commissioning and why? And if not, how would you want to nuance any of these propositions to make it really reflect the tone of your channel? So if we're ready for the PowerPoint, here we are. Look, it's lovely Russell Brand. In my fantasy universe, yeah, they are so look-alikey. In my fantasy commissioning universe, Russell wants to do a show on spirituality. He's got married in India. He's sort of got a Hindu guru, and he'd certainly bring an audience to the show. Does anybody here fancy having a crack at Russell Brand on spirituality? My next offering for you is the delightful Selena Scott. She's keen to put her row with Channel 5 behind her and to get back onto our screens. And she thinks that farming is very much part of the zeitgeist at the moment. We're all obsessed about where our food comes from. So she wants to invite the cameras to join her at her Yorkshire Hill farm for an Access doc. This is Natasha Kopinski. She's now a mum of 2, and again wanting to put her relationship with 5 behind her, we understand. And what she wants to do is a tour of Europe with a little bit of covert filming thrown in to find out which hotels and resorts might be the most welcoming to families and babies, and exposing those who aren't. I don't want you to commission that. I think I'm already making that show for BBC One, so none of you buy that. Victoria Wood. She is, we must all agree, it is, yeah. It's not a fortunate shot though, but she is a national treasure, so let's not be too critical about the photograph. She's apparently mad on knitting, and she wants to share the joys of Britain's growing, most enthusiastically supported craft hobby and show that it's not just for old ladies. Knitting is cool, according to her. Here we are, now this is Lily Allen. Now this is, what we're not proposing is we go and knock on her door right now, but imagine that we're commissioned for 2012 and that Lily, having come to terms with the grief of having lost her baby, is interested in doing a programme that looks at miscarriage and bereavement. And finally, Ross Kemp. Imagine for a moment that he wasn't under contract to Sky. He's sick of gangs and wants to move on and do hard cities. Belfast, Beirut, Berlin, Palermo. He's ready to flex his muscles as a TV talent, looking at tough cities around the world. Emma, is there anybody from that list of lovelies who you'd go for?
I mean, the interesting thing for us is that probably none of them. Isn't that weird? I mean, if Ross Kemp wanted to do something entirely different, I mean, you know, entirely different. Sorry, I'm back
Ross
to
Kemp on knitting?
Well, no, not that. BBC One might be interested. I do Russell Brand's Who Do You Think You Are? Definitely. I mean, in the end, we don't really want people to just talk. It's like, what's they going to do in any of those ideas? I wasn't quite sure. I mean, I'm not sure what I could see of him doing actively in terms of spirituality.
So
Lily Allen, I mean, yeah, no. Not on that subject.
Why not?
Because, well, I mean, it's just too on the nose, you know. I mean, it feels like something that... Well, it just feels very tabloidy to me. I don't know how you would stop that being tabloidy, really. Although I have been pitched a few, you know, miscarriage is a very interesting and appalling event in a lot of people's lives.
Uncovered
yeah, I mean,
subject.
if she, I mean, you know, one could talk about all sorts of things, but we wouldn't do that. Then Victoria would, it's very BBC One, but again, not knitting, I don't think. I mean, I think for us, actually, we're trying to find new people, the next generation of national treasures, as it were, and, you know, give people a break. Natasha Kaplinsky, no. Sorry.
Oh,
Selena
Dom.
Scott, only...
Is there anyone from that list who you might consider?
I sort of, I echo Emma in that, you know, there's some names that are obviously more Channel 4, Lily Allen, less Victoria Wood, I mean, it's pretty obvious, Russell Brand, who you would naturally associate, our audience would naturally sort of connect with. But I think the point to make is that for us, having somebody well known doing a kind of tour and come and have a look with me style show, we did do those sort of shows like 5 years ago, but we tend not to do that anymore. So we are working with Lily Allen. We've been filming with her while she's been starting up her shop business with her sister, and it's about family relationships, and it's about how can she sort of put behind her some of the, you know, some of her, you know, dysfunctional family stuff. So it's kind of got layers. So I think it's, if there's somebody who's well known, even if it seems someone quite un-Channel 4-y actually, who's doing something fascinating in the real world, genuinely, with genuine jeopardy for them and their lives, and it's an interesting thing that they're doing, that feels appealing to us. Sort of tagging a celebrity name onto a kind of journey, voyage, let me explore how well hotels are doing, for that's never going to work for us. But I think more and more in our area of popular of factual telly, it's very, very hard to launch shows without talent, and that doesn't mean already established talent, but having a face attached to a new show is just, it's not impossible to launch new formats and that sort of thing without talent, but it's just a hell of a lot easier if you've got talent attached. And so we're naturally more keen to look at shows that have got exciting new talent, but on the whole we don't work with presenter. I mean, we do it at sort of 8 o'clock, but at 9, which is my area, that kind of very typical presentery Natasha Kaplinsky sort of person would be less appealing to us than someone with a genuine expertise like Heston or, you know.
I mean, over the past year, ITV has done some real sort of blockbuster docs with big household names, that sort of,
and
the national treasures.
The national treasures, we love a national treasure on ITV. And the obvious one in that list is Victoria Wood, like BBC One, feels very ITV1 name. Knitting, probably a little bit niche for us, so we might have to expand her out from, mildly static.
So if somebody came to you with Victoria Wood on knitting, how would you turn that kind of message into something for ITV?
I think
just can the knitting and brainstorm something else.
I think can the knitting and find her another subject. Russell Brand and Katy Perry, if anyone had access to them, I'm sure Zai Bennett at ITV2 would bite your hands off, and they could talk about spirituality a little bit, but, you know.
Well, that's what you told me.
Sometimes, in a rather envious way, when I watch all these big buster commissions on ITV1, I think there are production companies out there who've got some sort of random programme idea generator with a list of national treasures on that side, and they crank the handle. Oh no, it's going to be Victoria Wood on Africa. Well, now it's going to be...
Yeah, that's how we do it.
How do you do it? Because you don't. What are you looking for in terms of that match between one of these lovely household names who we sort of almost would watch doing anything?
Yeah.
How do you make that feel like something that
do you know what? I think they have to be genuinely passionate and curious about the subject, and if you put a celebrity next to a subject that they're not curious about, viewers can see it. It comes across on screen. Passion is infectious. So they have to match the subject and be really, really, really curious about it, and they have to be immersive, and they have to be slightly journalistic as well. There has to be a real intelligence behind them. So we match them to the subjects they're passionate about.
Siobhan, obviously you do already have Ross on your
and
channel.
he is doing that show at the moment. Extreme Worlds is about to come out with him in the Congo, and also in the city of Mexico with about 2,500 deaths per year.
Oh, really?
So he's already there. He's already doing that.
Excellent.
And I won't go on about him. With the others, like Natasha Kaplinsky and doing that, we'd definitely not go there or do that one, do a straightforward doc. I mean, we've just done Idiots Abroad, which is like completely turning travel docs on its head by him going to the Seven Wonders of the World and saying, God, why bother coming here? So, and she feels very much, although she's left Channel 5, she still feels very much that sort of traditional, that would be her territory. I mean, if we were to use somebody traditional like that, for instance, we used Michael Burke's voice on Pineapple Dance Studios. So it's that completely spin it round, surreal take on it. It wouldn't be doing a straightforward connect like that. If you could come up with some mad connection that would make everybody, when you tell them, go, oh my God, no, then we'd probably go for it. Who else do you have? Lily Allen, well, as you said, bit soon. And the whole issue of miscarriage, we looked at it and we wondered whether to do it. And I think it's probably quite a good example of what we wouldn't do. In the sense that is a subject that needs to be covered and it's hugely serious, but it's not Sky One. We're family entertainment and upbeat in nature. So, although, as I said, we actually gave it a lot of serious thought and almost went for commissioning a series on it, it just didn't feel right on our big, loud, populous channel. It's quite a strong steer there, I think. And Victoria Wood and knitting, I was thinking about that. That felt like, in a way, the most natural, bizarrely, if I could get her to do something else in her knitting circles, if they all talked about female fantasy or what women really think of men, if there was some different take on female psyche and knitting was just the vehicle, maybe, but it's not knitting, it's not just knitting. Russell Brand and Katie, yes, very much so. I'm more interested in Katie than I am in him. So like you said, if we get access to her through him, then he could come on board under whatever guise he wants.
Yeah, just stand to one side, Russell, just don't get in the shot.
Yeah.
Excellent, thank you very much. Fantasy commissioning. What we'd like to move on to now is something a little bit closer to real commissioning, which if I press next, that might go away. No, we're stuck.
Do you think that picture's slightly distracting?
It's distracting me. That's the angle of the shot. It's the predominance of the pectorals that was really confusing me. Siobhan, I'm going to ask you to kick off and introduce your tape, and then once that's played out, I will cross-examine you brutally on what you're after for the coming year.
Okay, this is all that has happened pretty well in the, I'm just looking down the list, in the past year. It's either TX or about to TX, and shows you the direction we're going in. And I think the words to remember is it's strong telly. It's either very strong factual, Ross Kemp on the front line, quite brutal, or it's strong in the sense you've got Louis and Pineapple, completely bizarre. I mean, those are two characters that you can't get away from. There's no diluting the essence there, and that's what Sky One's after.
The Congo is the scene of the biggest human tragedy of the 21st century.
Most of us would walk on our ankle, but he doesn't have that. And the biomechanics from his new limb can only do so much.
We owe a massive amount of responsibility to nature and to the wildlife.
This place is hugely important because of its past.
Carl, we've arranged for you to go to Egypt to see the Great Pyramids.
Are they the oldest thing on the world?
What are you going to be buying from the garage?
Fizzy drinks and some chocolate buttons.
That's why you're fat, love.
I know, darling, I know.
I haven't got time to actually be a full-time celeb. 24/7, I do 25/8.
My dream is to earn a good living through the gifts I've been blessed with.
It's not about the X factor, it's about the it factor. I know I've got it.
There's an old saying in the show business world, it takes 10 years to be an overnight success. And, you know, I've been trying to do this for, well, 15 years.
It's time to get off your wobbly bums and melt that lard. Have a think about what that's doing to your body. You're both morbidly obese.
I do like salads, but I haven't got the patience to sit and chew it.
This is the fossilized egg of a pterosaur. The young pterosaur, as soon as it hatched, was capable of flight.
My mother instilled in Harry and I from a very young age that, being grounded was very important. There's a lot of unreality that goes on in my life.
Sky One, want to talk about Series 2?
Yeah, well, I'm not doing any more of this, so you can tell them now. They don't even have to, don't wait for me to get home, just say he's not interested. He's been around the world now, he's seen it all, he's done everything, knock it on the head.
What was your reaction?
I couldn't stand it, I couldn't wait to get home. To me, it felt like I had left this planet and gone somewhere else. I've been through a load of shit here. Tell them now, call them now, and tell them that we're not doing Series 2. Nip that in the bud.
With all your experiences, you've changed lately, you evolved as a person.
Yeah, I didn't want to change.
We're on our way to meet an ex-child soldier. His nickname was Satan because he was so violent. Murder and rape are so commonplace, they've actually become the norm. He looks into the eyes of a number of people who are killers, and that man now has the eyes of what I would consider to be a killer.
Organised crime has just been eating away at the police forces.
The cartels have an incredible hold over not only this city, but all of Mexico.
This is Sunday morning, 3 people are already dead. If we go by the averages, while we've been here, 6 more people will die before the sun goes down, and 6 more will die through the night.
It's been interesting, Steve. I've learned a lot, I've seen a lot, I've done a lot.
I absolutely love being here.
Excellent, thank you very much. So how can we use that as a guide to think about what new shows you might be after?
Okay, well, to start straight off, I saw 2 one-off docs in there, and I was going to say we don't commission one-off docs. The caveat to that is if you could come with Prince William, then we might say yes. So if there was, we just said this earlier, if you come with that idea that is really, you can't say no to, or that talent, then we will do that one-off doc, but it is very hard to get that away at Sky. In terms of other things we're looking for, I think if you look at all those things that were on the tape, each programme put across its idea, its message incredibly simply. If you took Steve Miller and Fat Families, done by Outline, Steve was originally, I think he was a salesman, then he was a life coach. Then he started doing weight loss. Steve's very complicated message is eat less, move more. And when you meet him, he speaks in pieces to cameras, and he says to the contributors on, he goes, lose that lard, come on, fatty. But he's not mean, he befriends them. And it's a very simple weight loss. There's nothing complex, there's no shrinks, there's no room with them, going into their inner demons. What he's essentially saying is move, and there's some very funny, laugh out loud moments in it. And that's what makes Fat Families work. I mean, it's very well put together, but it's weight loss that makes you laugh and you're on that side of that people. So if you think we're much more sort of Gokwan than Trinny and Susanna, we try to befriend people. Ross Kemp, his approach to the countries he goes to is to give you the brutal statistics, the facts as they are, with a bit of political background, but he's not going to go into that in great depth. Idiot Abroad, which has been a great success. It's an interesting journey with Idiot Abroad. I mean, we thought it would do well, but we didn't think it would do that well. And I think it's done that well for... I mean, you have your hardcore Ricky Gervais, Stephen Carl fans, number one. But it's actually very cleverly reinvented travel programmes. And over the summer, when I was doing a couple of edits on it, I had to view Egypt. And I was watching it, and I thought... And it became really compelling. And I thought, well, what is it? And I was desperately trying to understand... And it was basically Carl by a pyramid saying, oh, look, I've come out here, there's a pint of sand, there's loads of rubbish, there's smelly loos, there's coaches, going to these amazing wonders and saying this. And I went to Egypt on holiday, and I took one day out to go and see a historical monument, and it was awful. It was the worst day of the holiday. And it's like he's daring to say what so many of us won't say, but he's saying it in a very clever, funny way. It's not, oh, this hotel's ripping me off, or this airline, or those classic sort of routes. So if you can think of coming to us, if there's something that you've thought, all along has been bugging you, you thought, no, if I go to somebody, they're going to laugh at me, we might take you seriously. I think that's the one sort of message to go. And to also, another steer is that 2 acquisitions we've made, Modern Family and The Middle, they're American sitcoms, very funnily written, and they show families in a wonderfully sort of charming aspect. They're not out and right dysfunctional families. They're just struggling to get along. Mums working and kids are sort of going through teenagehood and all this. And I think that's a quite good indication of where Sky One is going. It's family entertainment. So at 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock, you can still get the kids watching with mum and dad. And it's laugh out, that genuinely we want those laugh out loud moments in however serious an issue you're doing. And you can do that without deriding that issue.
And are there particular slots that you're trying to fill, or just big bun fight over time?
It's now big bun fight, actually, because we were being quite specific in saying give us 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock, but it's not actually. If you just think between 6 and 9, and actually what we're specifically after is high volume, low cost, long running, heavily formatted, that we can repeat over again, and we can recommission. And it's, if you take me there at 6 o'clock, or the kids are there and they're saying, oh, come on, let's watch this, then that is great. I mean, the traditional sort of things I've been in there have been Oops TV and Simpsons, and we very much want a replacement for that. Not that we're going to take Simpsons off, but we want our own sort of thing running at that time.
Fabulous, thank you. Emma, it would be lovely to have your take and hear what you're interested in right now.
Yes, on this, it's not one of those flashy showreels, because we're not allowed to do those. I've just put a minute of 4 programmes, 2 of which haven't been broadcast yet. One will have time code on it, but I thought it'd be nice to show you some new things too. So there's Edwardian Farm, which is the successor to Victorian Farm, 12 hours of television, quite a lot. Then there's the Great
The Edwardian era did go on quite a while.
Didn't it? Well, I'm hoping Downton Abbey will, it's definitely downstairs, not upstairs. The Great British Bake Off, which we did in the summer with love, which is something I'm just unbelievably proud of. It got the worst reviews of anything I've ever done, and it's so marvellous when they are really mean about it and viewers aren't. I really like it.
I've actually bought the cookbook.
It's a good book. It's a really good book.
It's a good book.
Then a bit of The Immigrants Left, our more serious side, Maxine Watson on BBC One, and then just a little bit of this great series we're doing with Michelle Roux, which came from a tiny indie taster tape that was just sort of, you could practically broadcast it. And it's for BBC Two, but what's interesting, I think, about it is that it's about very real teenagers, the sort of teenagers you don't see on BBC Two very often, but he, as it were, is their dad. Unfortunately, it hasn't got Fred in it, his sidekick, this marvellous French sidekick. But anyway, that's what I'm going to show you.
It's getting exciting here. And it's starting to go.
Gases produced by burning limestone include the deadly carbon monoxide.
Wow. There's no going back now.
It's as if somebody down below is stoking some...
hellfire.
Yeah, some hellfire, some mysterious brew, really, isn't it? During the 19th and early part of the century, when there was a lot of rural poverty around, people who were on the road would come and sort of sleep around the kilns. And if the carbon monoxide rendered them unconscious and they turned over, rolled into the furnace, there was no way back. They were roasted alive.
Now they must take it in turns to keep watch on the lime kiln for 3 days and 3 nights. Before baking, macaroons should always be left to dry out slightly. This ensures the final product is crisp on the outside but stays soft and chewy in the middle.
They're just a plain almond macaroon with a crystallised violet on the top, and then I'm doing a violet buttercream. Controversially, I've used the violet flavoured perfume sweets.
Oh, right, yes.
And pulverised them to
sort of violets.
Absolutely, to icing sugar, and you get a good violet taste from them. So.
2 hours to go, which should be long enough for the home bakers to complete their choux buns.
I'm making a choux pastry, but I've added a touch of coffee because I'm making coffee choux pastry.
There has to be that little bit extra.
Choux is a unique pastry based on a roux, a cooked mixture of butter and flour.
And then you keep stirring it till it forms a nice ball and it comes away from the edges. And then when it cools down a little bit, add the egg.
Egg is essential to help the choux rise in the oven, but too much creates a runny dough that will spread and the buns won't hold their shape.
It looks like it's never going to mix into it, and you think, oh my God, I've done something wrong. But you've just got to keep working at it and working at it.
It can then be piped into eclairs, profiteroles, or even swans, baked in a high oven and dried out before filling.
I see you've done your choux pastry.
Have you dried them out?
With just 90 minutes remaining, Anita has missed a crucial detail.
I mean, the process of cooking eclairs is to put them in a hot oven first, and so they puff off and you get this lovely shape. Yeah. Then you make a hole in them, put them back into the oven, which she hasn't done, to dry out them otherwise they'll all be a little bit solid.
The company regards its foreign workers as very reliable. It's maybe why immigrants like Portuguese induction manager Gomes now make up 70% of its workforce, up from just 10% a decade ago.
Because if you not do that, when you cut in, the field will be very different out.
Are you okay? Do you want
I can't understand.
the language barrier?
I'm trying, but the old boy, he can understand me, but I can't understand what he's saying.
I've never had a problem with that. I fully understand everything Gomez says. We've never had an issue with it before, from any nationality. Gomez speaks very good English.
I think it should be an English person having an English induction through an inductor. Correct?
To add to Paul's frustration, in Lewis's absence, the three-man packing team is being made up with a foreign worker.
And this is Yuri, okay?
Oh, that's bugging me already then, isn't it?
Yuri.
I'll call them Bill.
Well, I'm sure they'd rather be called by their names. If you can try and... Yuri.
Yuri.
Yeah, Yuri.
served it like that, and I did it wrong.
You've got to get them on, not serving from your right hand, but serving from the right of the customer.
What's the difference?
You're less prone to lean over the customer, whereas here, you can go round.
Okay. I'm just going to drop the food in the lap and it'll be all right. Like that, like I'm hugging them.
Yes!
Like I'm hugging them.
If that means you're going to remember it, as if you're hugging them.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, like I'm hugging them.
Well done.
Thank you.
So, quite a diverse
Yes.
range of output that you're in charge of.
Yes. Well, I mean, there are 4 channels, and I mean, our core is contemporary Britain, obviously, but one's allowed to stray now and again. I mean, I think there's lots of steers there, really. I mean, one of the big steers is one of the things I've been thinking about a lot in terms of Edwardian Farm is what would you do if you want to do Edwardian Farm in the present day or something like it? What would you do? Because there's a sort of link, and the Immigrants doesn't quite fit with it, but there's a link between it and baking. I'm now known as the Queen of Process, but there's something about watching people make things in detail, to the point of tedium at times, that is very compelling. I mean, it's deeply without jeopardy in some ways. I mean, some people can't bear that sort of telly, I know, but I really like it, and I know lots of viewers do too. But and I was just been thinking about what would you do in the present day that would have that sort of sense of process and things being made, but also just reveal more about the contemporary world than obviously Edwardian Farm could ever do. And then the Rue series, it's quite hard to find the right clip really, but I think that's about, actually it's about respect, you know, that thing that all teenagers want but don't give. And it's his obsession, genuinely. We were talking about real passion. I mean, he has his own scholarship thing anyway. He sort of really does it. And we all know that restaurants are a place where you can reinvent yourself in the kitchen. But I think what's less well known is that lots of people reinvent themselves through serving. And, you know, when they first pitched it and people were saying, you know, well, wouldn't it be just really boring watching people put forks on the table? It really isn't. Because through learning to respect others, they learn to respect themselves. It's a really interesting series, that. So I suppose, you know, we're looking for all kinds of things. What I got out of baking is another thing I said. You know, what's a documentary competition look like? Mm-hmm. There's something amazing about doing a competition because you have to watch to the end to see who wins. I don't mean Farmer of the Year, although I'm quite tempted by that. So I think it's partly about, or our job is, we have to be distinctive. Everything has to have a purpose. Has to be really about something. And when those things are lacking, they don't really work on the BBC.
And how did those different commissions come about? You mentioned that the Michel Roux show, somebody brought you a taster tape that was pretty much the idea condensed. Is that the very best way to get your attention?
Taster tapes are everything, really. Because tone, I remember a friend of mine who works in drama said, I just went to a tone meeting. I thought, bloody hell, I wonder what that is. But actually, it's all about tone, isn't it? And forcing everyone, because everyone's got a picture in their head of what they think a series is going to be like, haven't they? Sorry. And the only way of really, you can articulate it, but there's something about having it in front of you, particularly for controllers who sit in a room all day, barely being allowed to go to the loo, you know. And if they've got something that they can see, even if it's not right, you can talk more effectively about how you would make it right. I mean, apart from anything else, it proves that Michel Roux actually wants to do it, you know, because there's quite a lot of things coming with his name on, you know.
People lie.
Yeah, a lot. But yeah, no, tasters are really, really, really important, I think.
And looking across the whole spread of the channels, where are there opportunities, particularly in factual programmes?
I think, I mean, Danny's only just arrived, so, you know, we're still talking and finding out what he wants, but I think we've done quite a lot of very tough stuff at 9 o'clock, which has done really well, and there's more stuff coming, but we haven't for a while. I did Britain from Above a while ago, and we haven't done anything like that for a bit. I mean, I always pathetically call it jolly television, but it sort of is in a way. It's not like, you know, revealing some hidden side of, you know, Britain and blah, 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 but it's just something that's using, you know, all the tools there are, whether it's CG or just helping us to look at Britain in a different way. I think that's a big gap for 9 o'clock on 1. And then on 2, we haven't got our next big Access series. We thought we had BA, but we haven't, Shareways. I'm quite interested in factories. I don't quite know why. Probably because people make things there.
Process.
Well, you know, for us, you know, the priority is to, you know, we live in very interesting times, don't we? And where would be the best place in Britain to chronicle and interrogate what's happening in this country? It's not town halls, I know that, or councils or anything like that. It might be somewhere a little bit kind of, oh, even though you go there. But I think that's one of the big things we're looking for on too.
Excellent, thank you.
Welcome.
Don, can we please have a look at your highlights tape?
Yeah, this has got a combination of shows from the Factual Entertainment Department and the Features Department that are aligned now at Channel 4, and it's almost exclusively 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock shows, which is more or less what we focus on. So we'll look at the tape and then see what we can draw from it.
I would love to create the most ostentatious magical feast imaginable.
This guy is insane.
It's a Snow White, isn't it?
So we're going to be eating human fish?
How bizarre is that? We're licking the walls.
Oh my God, that's so scary.
To beat the recession,
Going to step down as chief executive.
Britain's top CEOs go undercover in their own companies,
Ready to rumble?
swapping their executive lifestyle
That's it.
for tough, hard labour.
Pick your pace up, you lazy.
Oh my goodness me.
I want you done in half an hour. How are you finding it? Pretty tough.
They'll unearth shocking problems
This is not a great working environment. I'm upset to see those conditions.
I will not work with people who treat us with absolute contempt.
and identify the real heroes.
When was the last time someone said thank you?
Long time.
You're so dedicated.
The whole world smiles with you. The sun comes shining through.
You expect to see, don't you, above that bridge a sign, abandon hope, all ye who enter.
Kevin MacLeod is heading to the slums of Mumbai to see if, despite their reputation,
Mind the dead rat.
they actually hold the secret to a better way of life.
I mean, it's heap, isn't it, really? At the same time, they seem to be happy.
But can he cope with eating, sleeping and working
Look, underneath here, syringe, syringe, syringe.
in one of the world's biggest slums?
Absolute delight is alternated with utter horror. People, colour, laughter. This is not a shanty.
Now a big wedding and a massive dress.
Welcome to the secretive world of gypsy and traveller weddings,
Oh my God.
where the dresses can weigh more than the young brides.
Push it aside.
The
interest is the most important thing. It's the thing that I've dreamed about all my life.
But what surprises lie beneath the diamantes and lace?
People could mistake them for being prostitutes, but they have got the highest morals of anybody.
Girls are not allowed to play God with their body.
Call yourself a Viking. Don't call me a Viking.
A cutting-edge film.
If you know what we are, you probably will kick us out. They're all nice until they know you're a traveller.
Jamie is going on a mouth-watering journey.
Have a look at this. I've never seen anything like this in my life. Oh, my lordy lord. Nothing like backstreet drivers. Down there, you've got chaos, you've got scooters, you've got horns going off. Beautiful. Oh, my lord. Why have you got my picture on your menu? So exciting, so much noise, so many smells. This is the most crazy market you're ever going to see.
Give me your hand. That weighs a ton.
Mark Dolan continues his search for some of the most astonishing individuals on Earth.
I just rest my books on a tape.
Now he wants to meet the world's most enhanced woman.
I did this to be happy. I wanted to break the world record.
I may take a moment to compose myself after some of that. I don't know whether it's the guy's wobbly ear or that woman's knockers that will haunt me most. There's always, when I'm trying to develop things for Channel 4, I think the struggle is always to pin down that mysterious sensibility that makes something a Channel 4 popular factual commission rather than a show that would work for anybody
I
else.
always wonder, but I always worry, oh God, we always go on about, well, is it Channel 4 and does it feel Channel 4 enough and why is that Channel 4 enough? But actually, they all go, oh, I don't know if it's quite BBC enough or it's not right for... So actually, I think we all do that. And the longer you're there, the more you sort of have a sort of sense of the instinct. So sometimes it is hard to articulate because as soon as you put like a load of rules in as to what makes something Channel 4, someone pipes up and there's like another one that's like the complete opposite, which is what makes that Channel 4. So it's kind of like, it is hard to pin down, and I get that it's probably very frustrating. But I think in terms of what makes something Channel 4, just watch Channel 4, and generally in Factual there's a sense of mischief. I think with talent, I think it's quite clear we tend not to have, especially at 9 o'clock, sort of bolt-on presenters. That's kind of unusual that we would like develop a show with someone who was a presenter in a kind of more traditional sense. But I think what I draw from the tape, it's quite interesting watching everybody's tape and watching your own tape, and you think, oh God, what's that saying? And obviously that was made a little while ago, and some of those things have been and gone, some more successfully than others. But I think what stands out on that tape for me is Heston Blumenthal's Feast, and I think it's a brilliant example of a show that isn't in the mould of any other show, actually. So I think the show itself feels really fresh. And I think it speaks volumes about when we're always talking about we're looking for new talent. And I know it's so hard to break new talent, and it's so much easier to do new things with the talent you've already got. So we sit on stages like this and we go, we really want new talent, and then you all look at the tape and go, there's no new talent on that tape. So I can, trust me, I share your frustration. We do want new talent, but it's bloody hard to find. But I think when you look at someone like Heston, and I'm not at all for a minute saying he's new talent, he's been with us a while and he was with the BBC before that. But what I think he's a brilliant example of is somebody who's at the very top of their field. And I think that's a better way to think of new faces than presenters. He's someone who can do something that nobody else in the world can do, and I want to have a look at what it looks like. And I think if we can find more people like that, and that might be in health, that might be in, I don't know, even gardening. It's kind of people who are brilliant at what they do, and what they do has a visual element to it. You can watch them doing it. I think that's a really good place to start looking. So I think talent, think in terms of amazing experts in their field who can do extraordinary things. I mean, that's much more so for a 9 o'clock show than 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock, features shows, you're normally kind of based around the idea, and then you sort of build the talent into that. But I think the other thing that really, several things stand out in the tape for me, and one of them is that like, a visual spectacle, and I think Feast ticks that box, and I don't think we talk about that enough. We talk about, and especially, you know, because a lot of us and a lot of people I work with, we all come from a very documentary sphere, and so you're always like about the story, and that is absolutely the heart of every idea that we're interested in, is purpose and story. But I think if you look at the Mark Dolan series, if you look at Feast, if you look at Slumming It, if you look at nearly, you know, Gypsy Wedding, it's like they're visual spectaculars, and I think that's a brilliant quality that we don't do enough. So finding, I mean, I did a show a couple of years ago called My Fake Baby. It's like kind of like visually amazing. It's kind of like it's got that picture that will get you in the front of the Radio Times. And I think I'd like more shows that have that element to it. Gypsy is obviously, it was a brilliant one-off. We made it into a series. I'm really excited about it. But I think it's almost like going back a bit, it's kind of more old school documentary and kind of like really digging out a world that we haven't seen before. And I don't think we're doing enough of that. And I think the sort of documentary makers here, because I know it's kind of traditionally more of a DocFest, the Sheffield, it's kind of popular factual doesn't have to mean cake baking. You can take your doc journalistic dig out story kind of sensibility, but find a world that's really entertaining and not always so gritty and grimy. And I think interesting, unexplored, urban worlds like Gypsy, like the Gypsy and Traveller community, is a really good steer to where you should be looking. And I think similarly we did a series with the Amish. I think again it's kind of like we're fascinated by those sort of urban communities that as kind of we know are amongst us, but we don't really ever see, or we haven't seen for a long time because we've all been obsessed by formats. And then the third point that I just wanted to bring out, and then I'll shut up, is mischief. I think across our formats, so you look at Undercover Boss, you look at things like Secret Millionaire, I think the formats that we do, Ramsey aside, and I think in some ways that probably is a really good example of why in some ways that didn't work, is it didn't have enough mischief to it. And I think when you look at Undercover Boss, it's that element that makes it feel really Channel 4. And I think with a format, you've got to know why you're doing it, and it's got to have a big answer to the why question. But it's also got to have a bit of, you're not really allowed to do that. Oh, we can't do that, can we? And I think if it's got that quality to it, nearly always it's sort of Channel 4. It might not get commissioned because of all sorts of other reasons, but mischief at its core is a quality that makes an idea a Channel 4 idea.
And looking forward, sort of, you're quite commissioned up for 2011. Looking forward to 2012.
Do you know what? Yes, we are, and no, we're not. You know, I just think commissioning doesn't. Channel 4, it doesn't work like that. We don't have rounds. We just fall in love with an idea and we fight for it. Sometimes it takes quite a long time, and sometimes you commission it overnight. But we're always there's not a commissioning editor who's turned down a brilliant idea because you're commissioned up. So you're never commissioned up. It just might be, and also things take ages to make, don't they? You know, you think something's going to be ready for that, and then it's not. So I don't think people should worry about their commission for this or this slot or this tariff. I think just have an idea that you think is extraordinary and authentic and original and different. Hopefully with talent attached who's authentic and original and different, and we'll fight for it. And you know, hours are obviously much easier than half hours. 9 o'clock is easier than 7, but the right idea will change the schedule for.
Fantastic. Katie, can we have a look at your?
You can have a look at my tape. My tape was made for shiny suited ad sales boys.
I like them.
So it has a slightly breathy voiceover. So I hope you'll forgive that.
For an even more spectacular ride.
But to experience it fully, you needn't move a muscle.
You'll feel foolish if you don't.
Quite literally, riding at speed bareback, you must have balls of steel.
We haven't even scratched the surface.
Travel the world and unearth hidden secrets with our team of top talent.
Look at that.
Follow Trevor McDonald's incredible journey of discovery.
They might charge the fence here now. Whoa!
Through the stunning Mediterranean.
Nice to meet you.
Jump on board with David Suchet as he unravels the mysteries of the Orient Express.
I'm actually driving the Orient Express.
Following on from her journey to find the source of the Nile, Joanna Lumley continues her adventure into another cradle of civilization, Greece. Caroline Quentin immerses herself in Indian life.
The beginning of a fantastic personal journey. It's very exciting. Come and join me.
And Martin Clunes travels to the Maldives in search of the elusive manta ray.
Manta rays are so alluring. She loves me.
Coming soon to ITV1, a brand new Factual format sees 3 pairs of celebrities rallying through France in Monte Carlo or bust.
Thanks for a lovely holiday.
You're scaring me now.
She is a combination between Cleopatra and Judith Chalmers.
Shut up!
The spirit of adventure continues as we explore the wonders of the animal kingdom. From the stunning wild landscapes of Africa
She's well on the mend.
to behind the scenes of the world's most famous zoo.
There's a few minor tears, nothing major, so you can breathe.
Wild Britain has seen Ray Mears delve into our country's natural habitat.
They explode like fireworks on the forest floor, all in preparation for the grand finale, the bluebells.
Continuing our journey on home soil against the backdrop of some of Britain's most breathtaking scenery, we've joined Paul Heine again in Countrywise.
It would move anyone to poetry.
And the lakes return.
The most breathtaking place in Britain.
I've never been beaten by sheep yet.
In a new series, Yorkshire-born Ade Edmondson rediscovers his roots to meet remote communities in the beautiful Dales.
A real woman carries a bucket like most women carry a handbag.
Following on from the highly successful Wormwood Scrubs, we open the doors to another major British prison.
That's a sentence in itself. Losing my best friend, that's hard.
We continue to embrace the documentary tradition in our brand new strand, Perspectives, coming next year. Lord Andrew Lloyd Webber gives us a personal tour.
It's alive. This place is not some museum at all.
With his favourite pre-Raphaelite art. We follow a group of Cornish fishermen as they face the glitz and glamour of the showbiz world.
And next thing we know, Ben says we got Glastonbury.
It could kill me, I suppose.
Perspectives, enriching our way of looking at the world around us. And in the first of 2 new peak time formats...
They are never, ever going back. I'm a new woman now.
Emotions run high as contestants battle it out in the global smash hit The Biggest Loser, fronted by Davina McCall.
Over 28 countries have taken up the Biggest Loser challenge. The Biggest Loser really does change people's lives.
The drama continues. Davina returns with Nikki Campbell to track down and reunite family members in the powerful new peak time series Long Lost Family.
They were separated as newborn babies when their unmarried mother gave them both up for adoption.
Cheers.
Oh my God!
It's just such a privilege to be part of.
Oh my goodness!
Mind-blowing.
Wow.
Very captivating, very mesmeric.
Can you talk us a bit through how that's pointing the way to...
Yeah, I mean, ITV, obviously a very, very broad mainstream channel. Our Factual programmes have to attract large audiences from across, all ages. 9 o'clock for us is a big slot, lots and lots of opportunities next year. The main things we're looking for, obviously talent, massively important to us. So we do a lot of author journeys, as I think everyone knows. The people that work best for us are warm, fantastic companions, interested in the world, properly passionate, as I said before. We're also interested in access docs, so we did Wormwood Scrubs, which got 5 million for a really kind of a difficult subject, but people come to that stuff behind the scenes, behind closed doors, worlds that you don't normally see. But I think done in quite an ITV way, there was real humanity and warmth about that series. So we're doing the Savoy, we're doing London Zoo. I think for us Access, we get offered a lot of, we've got this police station, we've got this hospital wing. I think it has to be something iconic. There's a sort of why now. And title, this is stating the bleeding obvious, but if we do a programme about Wormwood Scrubs, we call it Wormwood Scrubs. So people have to absolutely understand on ITV what this show is going to be like to come to it. Also, we're looking for formats, so dipping our toe in with The Biggest Loser and Long Lost Family. I think what's interesting about Long Lost Family is that's real drama, but it's authentic drama. Producers have put people together, but that's a real moment. It's not a constructed. It's not it's not a TV construct. So those authentic, celebratory, redemptive moments, we're looking for that as well. 7:30, interesting slot for us. 7:30 up against EastEnders, but lovely slot because it's in between two Coronation Streets. We do Countrywise, Lion Country, all the stuff you saw up there. This is an overused word, I know, but it's warm. It's out and about. It doesn't have an edge. It's not cool. It doesn't have an angle, but character-led and celebratory. So looking for shows there too.
Well, I think those have been really fantastic explanations. But I wonder whether or not there's anybody in the room who's got specific questions or would like to follow up on anything that we've seen. Or one thing I would plead, though, do ask questions that the panellists can actually answer rather than your thesis on the nature of popular factual programmes versus documentaries, because it's such a great opportunity to have the commissioners here with us. So it would be really nice to get a chance to get some answers and to really further the sorts of steers. There's a lovely lady, Alicia, at the back who has a microphone. So if you've got any questions, do raise your hand, and then when you get the mic, please tell us who you are and launch in with the questions. Is there anybody? Because if not, I've got 15 minutes to fill and I know some very bad jokes. Yes, thank you.
Hello, I'm Bill Lyons. I'm exec producer for documentaries, BBC Birmingham. Can I ask Anna, it was an independent commission and a good one, but Britain from Above was such a great success. Why hasn't there been a follow-up?
Right. To be honest, I think it was timing. It literally went out when Peter Fincham left and before Jay arrived. And for things to really register, someone's got to, at that level, they have to own it, don't they? And it kind of felt, because it did really well, it felt just slightly unloved, and I think basically there wasn't someone to love it in place. And by the time Jay got there, she had a whole other mission going on, a very different mission, which has been a fantastic mission, and we'll miss her. I think that's why, but, I don't know how you feel about these things, but the river always returns. I mean, we do have 2 or 3 things in that area that we've just sort of kept in our back pockets. And we're going to have another crack at that with Danny, because I think he wants to go that way a little bit more than perhaps she did. She had such a big mission. I mean, it's, to have a proper documentary moment every week at 10:35, to have really tough subjects dealt with at 9 o'clock on BBC One. I mean, it's only 5 minutes ago. All you'd have got there was traffic cops for us, So, but I think, each controller has a different mission, don't they? And she's done that. And, I mean, it'd be really interesting to see what he wants to do with the channel, I think, Danny. But I know...
Have you had any steers, yes, about what the Danny mission might be?
It's really early, We've had one routine where we went through the slate and didn't quite get to the end. Let's think. Well, I think one of the things he wants to do is that new... National treasures. I mean, quite a lot of the treasures we had have moved on to other channels. And, well, that's our job, our job is to keep, finding new, younger, they're not really presenters in my head, but, people who will share something of their lives with you. I'll tell you what he wants, probably the next Apprentice. There's a big one for you, I mean, all these things will at one time come to an end, and I don't think BBC Two in the future is sort of, its role isn't just to give up all the stuff that does really well to another channel. I think he feels that his channel needs to do those things for itself. So it's quite exciting.
Any more questions? Gentleman here at the front.
Hi, my name's Peter Rowe. I'm a producer from Canada. I produce a series which is on a digital channel here in England. But I now have a new series, and I'm wondering whether any of you major channels in England are interested in acquiring or commissioning series of this sort from outside of England, or whether you're strictly interested in this time slot in English, in British content. I address this particularly to Sky and Channel 4.
So what's the series that you do to give them a bit more idea about who should chip in and...
I do a series called Angry Planet, which is on the Travel Channel, broadcast on the Travel Channel in England and across Europe. But it was an acquisition. I'm interested in whether or not you ever commission from outside of Britain new material.
Rarely, because we tend to work with producers that we know and know us. We do look at formats with that have been made abroad. Tends to be that the formats go from us to America rather than the other way. But I mean, never say never. We might ask you, it might be if you're a small company from outside of Britain, we'd ask you to pair up with a company that we know and has worked with us before. But I mean, there's habit and there's rules. There's no rule to say that we can't work with. It's more the idea. If we fall in love with the idea, we'll make it happen. If we're pitched an idea that we think is fantastic and already work on the channel, we'll make it happen in a way that's comfortable for you and comfortable for us.
Is there anything to say about the balance between topics that you're interested that are really about Britain today versus topics that are about other countries or global issues?
We're pretty UK-centric, except the one area that's kind of taking us completely out of our very definitive zone is 3D. And 3D is a completely different area that seems to be opening up many different sort of relationships and areas, mainly because of the cost. But it's a whole new frontier for everyone, including Sky. And somebody brought me an idea recently that we're looking at, and it's a 3D idea, and that's a foreign idea. So, much the same as what Dominique was saying, it's not normal territory, but we do look at these things, especially 3D. I mean, when we say 3D budgets are 30% above our normal budgets, actually, I think that's modest.
Well, my new series is in 3D, so can I come and talk to you later?
Yes, please do.
Always be closing. Do we have any other questions? There's a gentleman right in the middle. If you could pass the mic. Oh, I'm so sorry. You already have it. Gentleman at the end, then we'll come to you in a moment.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
After this presentation, I think it should be interesting to understand or know a little bit more about the market share between the 4 channels. What is happening? Who is the winner these days? Understand me?
Who's the winner?
Who's the winner?
Obviously no.
We're all winners.
We're all winners.
Okay, you're all winners. There must be some development. Some goes down and some goes up.
Yes.
What?
Don't quite know how to answer. Well, we have representatives of terrestrial channels who numerically do tend to dominate here, but they also have under their wing a profile of digital channels who are in very tooth and nail competition with Sky, who has a range of digital channels, and we're all in it together, I think. I can't think of anything more to say.
Okay, nice answer.
There was a gentleman in the centre who had a question.
Thanks. Federico Gaggio from Discovery. I've seen a fantastic array of talent across all of you. And as you said, Dominic, it's easier to do new things with existing talent than to break new talent. I guess my question is really about how do you break new talent? Is there anyone or any section of what you do which is dedicated to take some risks and bring up some new talent?
we go round and round on this. What is it that you do? Do you go, spread yourself really thin? Do you taste the tapes with loads of different people and then put the idea on afterwards? I mean, the features and the 8 o'clock magazine programming is a good place for us to bring new people through. So when we have a new show, we've got a new show called Animal Madhouse going out at 8 with vets, and so new people tend to come through there. I think it divides into people who we already as an audience know, but we don't know in that sphere. I think that's quite a clever way to go. So Lily Allen doing a shop, but that's obviously people who are famous for one thing doing something else. But I don't know the answer. I don't know if anyone else. If we knew the answer, we'd be breaking new territory.
Is it how do you do it, or what's the question?
Is there scope for someone to come to you with an idea, with some talent that is not famous already or is not well known already? And
I mean, I was always really interested. I did the first series of The Choir, but I've done all the other ones. And I remember saying to 20, I said, how do you find Gareth? It must have been terribly hard work and blah, blah, blah. And he said, we literally Googled choir masters. And he was the first. But I think, I can imagine meeting Gareth for the first time and you would just know, I think. Didn't you know? Or not?
You think you do and you hope you do, but you do pass people over.
Steve Miller on Fat Families.
You had the foresight to give us a funded development to find talent for that show.
Helen works for Outline, who we commissioned Fat Families from, and Steve Miller was new talent. And if I remember the story right, we sort of gave you a brief for what we were looking for and said, could you find somebody? And you went off and found them. You looked through loads and loads of show reels. So yes, we'd love it.
We'd come up with the format, weight loss in a family context, and we did a taster tape with about 5 talents who were really totally different from his sort of bullet head, shouty, army PT person, with Steve Miller at the opposite end of the spectrum. And then once we decided that Steve was the standout talent of all the new talents who we looked at, we then went back and reworked the format to make it, frankly, camper and more flamboyant to fit around the
stronger.
Talent we found.
That's the word we like at the moment.
It felt to us as a production company that Sky was quite bold in really getting behind somebody who was just never really done any television at all before.
Yeah, if somebody's strong enough and you send a taster and he or she kind of screams off that DVD that they are brilliant to use, then we will definitely consider them. But I think actually Helen's saying something very valid. You've really got to work out what the vehicle is for them.
And there was a little bit of sort of two-way tinkering.
Yeah.
Katie, within ITV, are there opportunities?
ITV1 in peak. No, we're not going to have new talent at 9 o'clock. It's not the right slot. At 7:30, say a show like Countrywise. A lot of the presenters there are experts in their field. Daytime we break new talent. ITV2, although very mainstream, younger channel, is a place where new young comedians can grow, I think. But 9 o'clock for us is the home of well-loved talent.
And it struck me looking at your show reel, Don. There were obviously talents who had an outing somewhere else and had made the journey. Jamie went from the BBC.
We just see what they do and then we just do a better version.
If we were sitting there watching the BBC and wanting to rob some of Emma's current crop,
I'm not going to tell her that.
What is it that you need? What to you makes it a different outing for a talent on Channel 4 that you might have seen somewhere
on
else?
the whole, nearly always, it's doing something with us that they can't do with them.
Or they want to do loads of ads.
Yeah, I mean,
to be honest, it's
Jamie
true.
couldn't.
You can't.
He wanted to do with the BBC, he couldn't do it. Just compliance-wise, people are much freer. Jamie couldn't really do what he does in his life and be signed to the BBC. It's impossible. As much as he threatens it quite regularly, you just can't get away with the kind of commercial exploitation. Similarly, we're doing some stuff with Mary Portis that. She's a good example. So what she's doing with us is more of a campaigning series, and she's doing a customer service series. But, you know...
Well, that's what she was going to do. I mean, it's not like the BBC wasn't going to, as it were, do that, were they?
But I think that in the campaigning series, she's freer to do some things that have a commercial exploitation for her.
So really, as a producer, I kind of get a sense that if it's got a campaigning spin on it, the BBC would be uncomfortable about taking it. Am I wrong?
Depends what the campaign is, I suppose, doesn't it? I mean, you know, if it's to get boys to read more books, you're probably all right, although it wasn't like it. We would never hype it up to the... I mean, it depends what it is, you know, there's no hard and fast rules. I mean, I think one of the keys to new talent is the people who, you know, like Gareth actually is a choir master. All the people who know Edwardian Farm aren't academic historians. They're like hands-on sort of demonstrators in the real world. They spend their life kind of digging with people and showing them how to, you know, and she dresses up all over the country and makes people Victorian dinners and stuff, you know. I mean, it's not like... So all they're doing is literally bringing those skills and their interests and their passions to a television programme. So I don't think it's that difficult to find new talent, actually, but it's very hard to find... You know, we're interested in present tense things happening, you know, a lot of content, lots and lots. I mean, there's so much in those hours of Edwardian Farm, it just never lets up. And it's quite hard to think of the things that they would do, I suppose. I mean, I slightly feel it's the other way around. Well, you know, it's harder to find a great idea than it is to find someone to do it, if you see what I mean.
Definitely.
In the end.
Do we have any more questions? Oh, yes, the lady at the back.
Hi, Marion Barch from Australia. Nurturing new talent is something I spent a bit of time doing, and in one series, Surfing the Menu broke through internationally with a talent called Curtis Stone. So it's been on here on... It's a food travel show out of Australia, 2 Aussie blokes, but they're Michelin star chefs. And... Curtis went on to become a superstar, really, in the US, and he's got his own show on NBC. So that's quite unusual, an Aussie accent, extremely good-looking, blonde, articulate chef who's gone on to make a career globally. It's interesting because obviously the projects that we have as overseas broadcasters wanting to play with you guys and work with you guys, I picked up on the fact that if you have a good original idea that could cut through and has stories that can come out of UK, I'd be willing to sit and talk to producers. So I'm just introducing myself. Anyone out there that's a producer that's known to the crowd here at the desk, I'd love to have a chat to you because I'd like to pitch an idea to them, and I think I would prefer to pitch it as a co-pro with a UK producer and then have a better chance of getting it up. And obviously we have, you know, funding out of Australia to work together. So anyway, that's what I want to say. But I think it's important to nurture new talent, and that's the hardest thing to do.
Jolly good. Are there any questions from anybody? Any more questions? Yes, one at the front. Oh, wait for the mic.
Hi, I was just wondering, where series like 7 Days and even ITV, they do that kind of more constructed, Only Way is Essex, that kind of thing. If that's something that's going to be coming more into factual programme making, kind of very constructed factual programming.
You're talking about scripted
yeah, very
reality.
Scripted reality, and where this fits into this. And also, I've noticed a lot of rig programming at the moment as well. And I essentially hadn't talked about those kind of more formatted things, and if that had a role, if you're looking to commission more of that kind of thing, especially if Channel 4 would to fill up the Big Brother slots.
Yes and no. I mean, we've got a lot of rigged shows commissioned. That's something the documentaries department is doing a lot of, because when it works, it works.
By rigged, I presume you mean cameras stuck on walls rather than like you've cheated the outcome and decided you
Yes,
wins.
I mean rigs. I mean camera rigs within institutions. So we're doing one with a hotel, one with a nanny. I think probably there's quite a lot of that sort of stuff, but constructed stuff, absolutely, and original original, playing with the form, I think we're all quite interested in. It can work, and it can also not work. Like all things when they're quite new. But I don't know if you want to talk about.
Well, I mean, the only way is Essex has obviously been a fantastic success for ITV2, and it just feels quite different, not for that audience, because it's, you know, they're used to the OC and the hills and stuff, but it's like, oh my God, what is this when you're watching it? It's been a huge success. Would that work on ITV1? Don't know, quite possibly if we found the right subject.
And obviously at Sky, with Pineapple...
Well, we did. I mean, the Pineapple story is quite an interesting one, in that Pulse, who made the series, came to Sky and said, here is an Obstock of a dance studio. And their original idea was very straightforward, fly on the wall, Obstock, and sort of Sky pushed back and said, come on, do something more with this. So then you have those surreal breakout dance moments where you think you're watching a Obstock, and then you have two men in police uniform going up to the desk and they start breaking out into this dance, or builders on the building site all start dancing. And so that's in many ways the start of this. And we are actually talking to a couple of indies about, you know, moving in. I mean, I think anyway, is in Essex, it's dreadful, but it's brilliant. There's really something there. And we're looking at different areas to do it in. But that's definitely...
Emma, do you think there's a BBC take on this kind of construction?
I've been thinking about that a bit recently. I mean, I'm more of the Housewives of New Jersey type person. In fact, I think if 7 Days had been called Housewives of Notting Hill, it might have done a lot better. Well, the American ones work because they're very good at acting themselves. The English ones are slightly... We're not quite so good at it, are we? But what the BBC Two version of that would be quite interesting, I think. Sort of playing... I mean, the Armstrongs, I mean, it's ages ago. We never found another Armstrongs. I mean, God knows everyone tried.
Were they actually real, or were they acting?
They were real, produced up a bit, sort of thing. But no, I genuinely would really...
They just got it. Yeah. They got telly, didn't they?
Yeah.
They did what you dreamed, yeah.
But I think Janice is very keen for us to think about... I mean, there's so much that we do, but I think another kind of big thing that we're looking for is something that does genuinely play with the form, really. You know, I mean, it's harder, I think, for us. But, I mean, it'd be interesting to see how the Michelle Roux series does, to be honest. I mean, I know that's not playing in that way. But I'm not sure where you would go.
Is that a step for you because it's more formatted, or it's...
It's the age of the...
Oh, okay.
The people in it, they're, you know, for BBC Two, they're effectively their grandchildren. Sorry, that sounds awful, doesn't it? I mean, you know, that is young, but it's about sort of, you know, parenting in a way.
It's about values. Well, I think that we are just about running out of time, so I'd like to take a moment to thank our panellists, who I think have been absolutely tremendous. We've seen some great stories.